This is a 2020 V7 Stone, and it's the special edition before they switched to the 850cc motor. They built 750 of the special editions, and this happens to be number 72. So I'll pan back, and this is prior to putting on the MIVV exhaust. And I'm actually going to change out the LED taillight and go backwards to a halogen. And this is the main reason I wanted to shoot this video, is though I am a fan of LEDs and the brightness, I am not a fan of this North American ginormous spotlight that is on the back and the little tongue sticking out with the license plate light. So it'll be interesting to see what feedback I get when I show you the after. And all I'm doing is going to a stock Moto Guzzi taillight, which is the little red cat eye, and also a slightly bigger fender. So where everybody likes to eliminate the fenders or go to the thinner fender, I actually want to go to the thicker fender and have the license plate tucked right up underneath the light like it is on the other V7 III models. So I will have a couple videos. A quick way to test any taillight changes you want to make is remove the right side panel, and you will see that the rear fender light plug is right in there beside the battery. So once you've actually plugged in the kit you want to test, you can check, make sure everything's going to work. That's brake, turn signals. And again, since this is a stock Moto Guzzi light setup, probably no surprises here. Come around back. Okay. And before you can remove your rear fender, you have to take off the left side with the key lock for the seat latch. And this is because you will notice your seat latch cable actually runs through the fender here. So we will take this apart and unroute the wire so we can route it into the new rear fender. And this luggage rack is one that I did add on, so I will have to remove these two bolts again and re-Loctite them after installation of the new one. All right, so this seat latch is a little bit of a challenge because what I'm having trouble with is just getting the plastic to release. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop the top of the lock off, and I see that there is a spring right underneath. Put something behind your cover to protect you from the frame so you don't scratch up the frame or the cover. Now, if yours comes out easily, then you can skip this step. But I'm just going to pop the top of this off, holding the spring. And then that allows me to actually release the clip. And then I should be able to pop. I should go ahead and take the spring off just so I don't lose that. And then that allows it to release quickly. So that gets you ready to go ahead and pull your fender off and be able to take that out once you get the fender off. Removing this rear fender is pretty easy. You've got two T13 bolts right up in front, and they just go into some nut sets, so they're not torqued real hard. You've got the one T13 bolt at the top, and then the side is a 6mm Allen, and the nut that's on the inside is a 13mm nut. So I'm going to take these out first, then I'm going to remove these, and then that way the fender is being supported by just one last bolt to take out at the end. All right, so the T13s actually have a 10mm nut on the back end. So if you just reach up underneath there, and they will back right out. Okay, so there's your nut, and those are nylon lock nuts. So you will not need Loctite on these when you reassemble. Okay, this last bolt is the only thing holding the fender on at this point. And again, just remember to unplug your taillight before you drop this fender out. But this one actually has does not have a nut on the back. It has a insert in the fender liner that holds this one in. So this should just come right out. Okay. So you'll notice that the fender wants to release. Grab your nut out so you don't accidentally lose it. And then here's where your cable needs to come out of two holes. And you have to make sure you run your plug out first so you don't tear your wires off. So get your plug out for your taillight set. And here's where you can just fish this up. It comes in, there's a little clip actually that I did not realize that you just need to undo here. And that will allow you to come through the hole in the fender. Of course, this probably needs to come out, which that does not come off. So let's pull it out here where we need a little better view. Okay, so let's see, this splits open, just like this. So that way you can take that off and then just slide your seat cable right out. Now the key is going to be remembering to do this first with your new fender that you slide on, or if you're going with a Fender Eliminator kit, it will have a groove in it to hold the cable. So that is what your fender looks like. And if you'll notice under here, this is where the nut was for the last bolt that I took out. And then there's going to be, you can see here, there's an inset in this fender that I will probably pop out and reuse. In fact, actually, sorry, that's what came out, was the little nut set. So you can see you've got this is where your side bolts go in. So this is just extra strength for the fender, since these are just plastic, they're not metal. But this is your fender liner that you'll remove to get your wire out. And so you can see there's one little screw here that has a nut to keep the wire protected. And then this fender liner will come out once you remove the bottom two screws from the license plate frame. And then when you pull that out, that's where your last screws are for your tail light to come off. So hopefully this will help you guys if you're trying to figure out little tips and tricks for taking the rear fender out. So after getting the rear fender off, I was kind of curious. What would a Guzzi look like with a fender eliminator kit and a luggage rack? And I actually think it looks pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to stay this way, but that just gives you an idea of what one would look like in case you were still wanted to carry a box on the back or some side bags but run a fender eliminator. And yes, I did switch out to, I have a second seat, and I just thought these one-up rider seats look pretty cool with the fender eliminator kit. So that's why I thought I would just give you a quick look at how that looks. And just like that, there's how it looks with the standard flat seat with the air hawk for my second passenger. But that's without a fender and a luggage rack. So the one thing I noticed now that I have this off, there is a lot of weight sitting on the back of this fender because of this large light housing, and I'm assuming the resistors and the boards inside, plus the fact that this bracket that comes off the back to support the license plate is also metal. Which I learned when I was cutting off the tabs for the little reflector that hangs down. So when you lift that versus the fender that I'm going to put on, everything on the back of this is plastic, and already I can feel the weight difference. So that was not one advantage I had considered, but it is a nice surprise. And I will also cover, I'm gonna cut off the bottom of this European tag holder so that it's flush with the US tag plate, just to make it look a little neater. But already you can see from the side how this plate just comes right down to the end of the fender versus the stock special edition one, or anybody with the LED taillight, how that metal license plate holder hangs down off of the back of the fender. I know Guzzi Tech has a kit that'll tuck the plate up underneath this stock light, and you can also get the smaller European light set with the LED turn signals, and perhaps that European one is lighter than this US one, but just be aware that there is a lot of weight hanging off of the back of that fender in case you are weight sensitive, which is not really a term to use with Moto Guzzis anyway, so just thought I would share that. There's a comparison of the two rear fenders side by side. And so you can see the difference on the sides, how much the one on my left side comes down to protect you from water and or rocks versus the one on the right that's a little thinner. So it's just your preference. But that's where you can see the two plugs that come out. The wire colors are just a little different on the LED one versus the halogen based one. However, the colors on the halogen based one actually match up with the wire harness that comes out of the bike perfectly. So that helps you know. No difference in the little bit of storage that's underneath the seat for your toolkit. But other than that, everything else lines up exactly the same on both of them. All right, so this is the stock Guzzi V7 Stone fender, and all I wanted to do was just give you guys a quick view if you wanted to take off your back tail lights to replace with LEDs or to even get to the turn signals. And so you'll notice there's the inside fender liner and then the power cable that runs up through and all the way out to the hole where you plug it into the bike. So all we're going to do first is we'll remove these three screws that hold the fender liner to the fender by connecting into the plastic plate holder. So that'll be step one. Okay, so now you've got that popped out. You will notice the rear fender liner just wants to slide right out. So that comes out of the fender. And that leaves you with the last three. These are 3mm Allen bolts that you will use for this to take those out. And you will also see two. I highly recommend just loosening this screw or removing it completely, just so that you can take your wire out easily. That just pops right out. That allows you to feed the wire back through. Now you've got loose wire. And now you can see where all this comes right up in. And the nice thing is, if you take off the two screws on the lenses, you can pull the lens and the metal out, and you can very easily get to the turn signal wires, you can get to the brake light wires, so that if you do need to solder in any new wiring for LED turn signals or anything, you've got them. When you remove the bolts on this taillight, these are just rubber isolators that have the nuts built into them, so those just come out. Okay, so once you get your third screw out, and this whole assembly just comes right off and right out. And this is why, if you're going to do anything with the rear lights, I would probably recommend taking off the rear fender. It gives you easy access to the plug, so if you want to just replace a wire within the plug rather than cutting up behind here, it gives you that option. Or if you're changing out to the Euro light set, now you can see how this all comes out. Although I think the Euro light set might have a different plate that needs to go behind it on these fenders because of the difference between a standard fender and a special edition fender. But that's how you would disassemble a full fender, in case you were curious. So the nice thing is, if you take your rear light out while you have your fender off, you have this extra bit of plastic that goes underneath the US one to help support a Euro plate. So if you look, there's a nice little support line right here that would be a great place to cut this off, so that when you go back onto the bike, just the bottom of your North American plate will be showing. So I will cut that and show you the result of that. So yeah, so that's where you can see how this looks with the plate removed. Again, this is just a nice lightweight plastic piece on this one. And so I'm actually just going to take the miter saw and give it a quick cut across the bottom, give it a little sand, and then when this goes back on, you won't even see the cut mark. Pause. Did it start? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't hear it click. Okay, so basically all I used were those support lines as a guide, and by keeping those supports in there too, it keeps it nice and rigid so that it'll support your plate after cutting it off. So now I'll just reassemble it and let you see how you can no longer see the extra European support that's under there. Okay, and I'll do some final tightening once I adjust the plate left and right, but as you can see, you no longer have that. And so it's a nice clean cut across the edge at that support line, puts you right below the North American tag support. And you have a little room to move up and down, so even if you push your plate up just that extra little bit within these adjustment screws, you still don't see the cut hanging down. But I'll probably go ahead and just put it down just a touch, just to make it nice and clean looking. And that's it. That's how you can do a quick modification on your license plate if you've got the fender already out. I probably wouldn't do this if I wasn't taking the fender out already. So while you have it out, take advantage of it, shorten that support up, and make a nice clean look. All right, now that we've done the comparison of the fenders, we'll go ahead and get this installed back in. And the first thing I wanted to do was basically just come around and get the plug and the seat cable mounted in first, because they've got little holes that you got to just slide everything through. My back bolt that I had hanging in there. So there's that little cable. And I'm actually going to take the clip back off, which again just spreads apart. Okay. Run the cable through the first hole. Okay, back out the second hole at the bottom. Okay, and once that is routed, and we've got your cable through the other hole, the first thing I'm going to do is basically just line these all up. I think it's going to be a little resistance here. Binding up. So if that binds up a little bit on you, you just gotta, it might actually be easier to feed it in the last hole after the plug. So we'll feed it in just through the top one. Look at that. That's all it was. Make sure you got your washer for your back fender bolt. Just get that fender started so it'll hold your fender for you. Make sure you got both of your inserts, your little metal inserts that go inside the back fender mounts. Make sure those are in. Clip if you want to come around. And here's where your wire comes back through the inside of the fender hole and then back through. There's another hole in here that your seat cable needs to come through. And once you do that, then you just reach up underneath here and there's just a little hole in the fender. So you wrap your cable, your clip back around your cable, and then with only having the one bolt in, it makes it easy to just locate where that needs to clip in to the little hole in the fender. Okay, once that snaps through, of course I've got some pressure on the cable right now, which is why it's making it a little more challenging, so we'll just reach up under there, put those in, just like that. You can hear them snap, and that's how you get your seat cable back there. Pull on it a couple times, make sure there's nothing binding up anywhere, because that is a fairly stiff cable. All right, and now that that's back through, now we'll go ahead and bolt the rest of the fender up. Stop there. Okay, so that's where we have ended up now. The fender is mounted up. And we now have the new rear look, which I like a lot better. It'll look even better once I get the new exhaust on it to shorten up those pipes. But that's where we are at. Again, coming back to remember, just here's your plug coming out from your fender. That just needs to be plugged back in. And then over here on the other side, I still just have the loose cable coming out. I just need to mount that back into the side cover and get the side covers put back on. And that'll be it. Since I had a picture with the black seat, I wanted to come back and show a quick shot with the one up brown seat. And that's where you can see with the new fender. And the tire's hanging down right now because I do have it on the center rack. So there's still a little bit of a gap showing right there. But once I drop it down, there should be a really nice gap between the tire and fender. Make it look nice and clean. That's with the new back tail lights. And yes, I know I'm going back to halogen from LED, but I just like the way that light looks. And I like the red lens to match up with the red shocks and the other little red accents that are on the bike. All right, so that covers the fender install. Next up, the new exhaust.